Hello there, and welcome to Fixing the Sequel Trilogy, usually a Writer's Room podcast, but today a reaction review podcast for Ahsoka Episode 5. I'm joined this week by Forfang Phan, not our usual co-host for this show.
Hello.
But Mello last minute said, hey, I don't want to do this. Nah, he's busy. So we've got you as our very kind replacement instead. Thank you for jumping on, Cole. Ahsoka
Welcome.
Episode 5, let's do it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I don't know if I would say it's my favorite yet, but it might be after I let it simmer for a bit.
Episode 4, I think, for me, is still like stand out. Very much my favorite. Episode 5 this week was a bit more slow, took its time a little bit more, and it really wanted to dive into the character of Ahsoka. That was kind of, I feel like, the point of today's episode, which I should have predicted last week, but I didn't. I thought they'd jump straight into Sabine's story and what those guys do and what the new galaxy looks like.
Yeah.
Silly me. I should have realized that is not the plan. And honestly, it's a smart move to kind of help pace out the rest of the season.
Yes.
Because we've got not a whole lot to cover, I think. I think next week we'll probably start to see Thrawn and their part of the galaxy and what they're doing over there.
Yeah, that's one thing that's sort of surprised me so far about just the show as a whole. We're 5 episodes in.
Yeah.
It's 8 episodes in total, right?
It is.
And yeah, I feel like we're only just getting to like the big conflict. But
okay, that's
kind
interesting.
Kind of the third act.
So, yeah, we start to dive into a lot of stuff in this episode, namely Ahsoka's journey through the world between worlds with Anakin. And that was pretty good. I was really worried last week when we saw Anakin's face. I was like, this is really cool, but oh my god, that one shot of Anakin at the end of episode 4 was did not inspire hope. But for almost the entirety of this episode, I was pretty impressed with the de-aging. I thought it looked really good.
Yeah, it definitely looked really good at points. I mean, when he first came in again, it was still like that same kind of sheen, honestly. But for most of the episode, I would say it looked really good. There were a few moments where, like, I think in the Clone Wars flashbacks, he looked a little older as well, and I think it's just maybe they weren't able to get the effect as cohesive there. But I mean, Hayden's performance in this episode I think that's the best he's ever been as Anakin, in my opinion.
Interesting. Hot take there. I'm going to clip that out.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I do, though, because, I mean, obviously, his emotional intensity in, like, episode 3 is phenomenal. Yeah. But in episode 3, you're really only getting the darker side of him. You're not getting a lot of that lighthearted parts, none of the, like, wit. And to be fair, a lot of that only really comes from the Clone Wars adaptation of him, and a few quips here and there in the prequel trilogy. Yeah. But,
we're going to jump into the plot and start going through.
Okay,
awesome. We're getting lost in the weeds.
Cool.
So yeah, we start out with... Fuck, where do we start out? What happens?
So yeah, I'm pretty sure we open with... Was it Hera, right? We open with Hera arriving.
Yes, yeah. She's standing there at the Stonehenge kind of looking area, and she's looking for Ahsoka. And we get a little scene with Jason... while, Ahsoka and Anakin are kind of talking to each other and exchanging a bit more dialogue. And we start to see... So they played the Darth Vader's theme at the end of last episode.
Yes.
And that kind of teased us for a little bit of what we're getting here. This really interesting mix of Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader. And his not twisted, but his tormented soul. And how his personality has come through into the Force after his death. Yeah. And how it's all kind of mixed together in this really interesting way. Because we see his Force ghost in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
But Darth Vader still exists as a part of him. And they explore that a lot in this episode, I thought, really well.
Yeah, definitely.
So his interaction with Ahsoka is very much confrontational. It's very aggressive, true to his character. He attacks her, and he says, life or death, what do you choose?
Yeah.
And that is kind of the whole premise of this episode. Do I think that dialogue was bad? Yes.
At points, I agree.
Yeah, a lot of the dialogue was very stilted and wood in this episode. I was not a huge fan.
Classic Star Wars.
Yeah. It's been like hit and miss so far with the show, and I think this episode was a lot of misses. But Jason is getting like senses of like, what the hell? Like I'm hearing a lightsaber fight, and he's trying to communicate that to Hera, while Carson Tava, the pilot, is behind her. That's and he's trying to say like, hey, this it's not looking good. They name drop Leia Organa.
Yes,
which
finally
is really interesting because we discussed on our other show we do that the whole problem with the New Republic is that they can't involve Han, Leia, or Luke. Yeah, because they don't have the actors anymore, and the story it'll just make things too confusing and difficult to write, so they just avoid it entirely. Yeah. So the way they're doing it in this show is just name drops, I guess.
Yeah, I will say, like, on one hand with that, I do appreciate the fact that they are focusing on the other characters of the Rebel Alliance who went into the New Republic, like Mon Mothma, for example. Yeah. I think that's one of the things I'm kind of happy about with post-Disney, is that they're actually fleshing out a character like Mon Mothma, who kind of was just there in the original trilogy.
Yeah, she takes much more of a center role in
Andor
and now in this show as well. and kind of trying to embody the idea of the New Republic and what that looks like post the war. Even though Luke, Lando, Leia, and Han should also be doing that.
Yes, they should be in the picture.
They obviously can't be because of all of these, because of Disney and actors and all this kind of stuff.
Eventually.
But it's definitely something that I notice a lot in discussion threads on Reddit and stuff. It's a big issue for people. It kind of takes them out of it, which is it's fair enough. Anyways, so they're having that scene, and we cut back to Anakin and Ahsoka. They're having this really cool lightsaber fight. So they're dueling back and forth. I really enjoyed the choreography here. I thought it was really good.
That is one thing I wanted to point out. I hate the way Hayden moves.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he does a lot of his own stunts to this.
Same as in the prequels, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The way he moves is just like, wow, like you're actually like it's just captivating. Like,
and it's character driven combat in that his dueling style is so aggressive.
Him,
and that's a big theme in the past couple episodes of the show is exploring Ahsoka and Anakin and how aggressive and intense they are and how much like fighting is a part of who they are as characters.
Yeah. And man, I think like I don't know if it's just been because it's so many years since Hayden's really actually been able to take back on the role, but he's brought so many new things. And I think a part of that is because obviously Filoni has made him watch the Clone Wars. And
is that true?
Yeah, well, I do think he actually watched the Clone Wars for Kenobi.
Right.
And when he came back, I think he spoke about how he wanted to take in elements from Matt Lanter's performance.
There you go. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I actually really enjoyed about Anakin in this episode. You know, you get a lot of those quips and stuff, especially in the Clone Wars flashbacks.
Yes. So at this point, he cuts the platform or the magical landing that they're on, and Ahsoka falls into a Clone Wars flashback, and we get the name drop of it to, I guess, kind of help normal like the average audience member of like, this is the Clone Wars, and everyone's like, oh, it's the Clone Wars. They have to call it out. But I thought it looked pretty good for the most part. So I think you had some issues with the production quality of how this all looked. And
yes. I won't start by being negative. I actually did really like the fact that we saw Anakin in his Clone Wars outfit. Like, that was really well done. That looked phenomenal.
I think that's going to make a lot of people very happy.
Yeah, and even like his haircut looked
so they changed his hair in between these scenes of him appearing to Ahsoka.
Yeah. I think my one the one thing that's kind of pulled me out is a lot of the costumes just looked very cheap.
Okay.
They didn't look bad, but they certainly didn't look very like high production.
So live action Clone Wars armor.
Yeah.
I think this is maybe some of the first we've seen it.
Second time, I think.
Because in Kenobi we found a clone trooper.
Oh, and also in Mando, in the 66 flashbacks.
Gotcha. Yeah. Nice. So
they did look pretty good in Mando, I believe. But
it did. It did look good, and I can see what you mean. I wasn't taken out of it. I really enjoyed like the fog of war is ever present in these shots.
Yes.
It's very intense, but I think it's a good way to hide some of the production aspects.
Yeah, I will say like it's more of a nitpick really for me, because I feel like those scenes like they looked really good the way they were shot and lit. And one thing that sort of dawned on me as I was watching was, you know, we've only really seen the Clone Wars in the show, where oftentimes you get so many lighthearted moments. It's a family/kids show.
Yeah.
And
ostensibly.
Yeah. Besides the war crimes.
Yeah.
But even then, you know, a lot of it is very light. And watching this, you're like, oh wow, Ahsoka really was just like a kid in a war zone.
Yes.
And the bit that really hammered it into me, you know, is the fact that you hear one of these clones and it's fucking Tamura Morrison.
Yeah,
with
they got
his
his
very
voice,
stern, gravelly voice. Compared to what's his name from Clone Wars? The voice actor for the clones. Oh, that's okay. D. Bradley Baker.
Nice.
Yeah. I got it. Yeah, like D. Bradley Baker, you know, has a lot of warmth, very excitable and all that, and he brings that to the clones. But when you see this, you know, Tamura Morrison has that very harsh, like warrior voice.
That deep kind of Boba Fett voice.
Yeah. And hearing that, you're like, oh, this is like a bad
This is real war, and she looks so young. We get young Ahsoka. I thought young Ahsoka looked great. I thought she did a pretty good job of the acting and bringing it to the role.
Yeah, she wasn't like bad, I think, or anything like that.
It's mostly the dialogue I think we have an issue with. It's the writing of the dialogue.
I think like as a child actress, she was good. The whole time, I don't know why, but all I could think of was it reminded me of the young Aquaman scenes from Aquaman.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Which was not a good thing to me, but I think she, like the actress, was really good. I'm a little surprised that she didn't age when they went to the Siege of Mandalore, because they age her down like. Because you get Rosario Dawson, and they age her down for the start of the Clone Wars. Then you go to the end of the Clone Wars, and she's the same age.
Well, the thing is, that from the start to the end of the Clone Wars, only it's
right.
2 or 3 years. You know, it's a very short period of war compared to how long it is between the end of the Siege of Mandalore and where Ahsoka is now after the original trilogy. So it's, I see what you mean. It is a bit weird, but I think the choice there was to try and show just how young she was the whole time.
Yeah, I see what you mean. And honestly, that probably is a good thing.
And I think it worked for me, showing her as this like young kid.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah, and I just loved the dynamic between Anakin and Ahsoka as well.
We get a lot of these quips of him like running into battle and stuff, and you see his teaching style come through there. It is about fighting. It is about violence.
Yeah.
He is trying to teach her to survive a war, and that's all he's focused on. And that sucks. And Ahsoka, like, understandably, is kind of fucked up because of that. It's like traumatic, and she hasn't learned wisdom or patience or any of that kind of stuff. Or at least that's not been the focus of her training. So
from Anakin at least. Yeah, a lot of the things she learned that she takes into Ahsoka are just the things she's had to learn after basically the fall of the Jedi Order.
Yeah. But having the baggage of Anakin Skywalker being your mentor, I think, is the key thing they're exploring here.
Yeah, and also the lesson, she's taking away for how she's going to have to train Sabine, assuming Sabine does turn back to the good.
Yeah. Maybe. I mean, I don't think she's gone evil.
Yeah,
I think she's, Yeah. But and then obviously they're diving into diving into Anakin being Darth Vader and what that means for Ahsoka, and it's him, like, it'll cut back and forth in explosions of his red lightsaber, his breathing, the cape and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, chills just thinking about it.
I know.
It was really good.
Actually, a really interesting thing as well, and this is the first time we've seen non-Darth Vader Anakin, like, basically wielding a Sith lightsaber, I believe.
Yeah. No, it's a really interesting choice to have that happen. And it's just, really interesting interplay between these two characters, and Ahsoka kind of realizing that maybe she doesn't want to fight anymore. Maybe she doesn't want to have this lineage and this legacy of violence be a part of her.
Yeah.
Which, personally, I think maybe could have been set up better from the first couple of episodes. If that's that's the big character arc for Ahsoka, it should have started earlier than here. I think.
I agree. It's interesting because I'm trying to pinpoint what Ahsoka's sort of arc through the series.
It's the Ahsoka show. It's an 8-episode series, and it should be about some kind of growth or change.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is this what we're getting? Is this the center kind of crux?
I
hope so.
I do think we're getting something. I'm just not too sure yet.
Yeah.
I think
compared to something like Andor, which we love.
So good.
First episode, first scene with Cassian Andor, you know exactly this guy is troubled. He's in a life that he doesn't want to be in, and he wants to escape, even though he doesn't know what he wants to escape to.
Yeah.
There's a fucking dog barking. Sorry, listeners. And that's who he is, and then we see him change and grow over the course of the series. Yeah. With Ahsoka, I might have to go and cut this. You know what? I'm gonna edit this one a bit.
Yeah, okay, that's all right.
Dogs. Anyways, with Ahsoka, that's just a bit different.
Yeah. I think as well, something I'd like to point out as well, because this was a reservation I had for a long while going into Ahsoka. I was a little worried that the Ahsoka we were going to get in this show was just going to be very, like, stoic, no emotion, and I get that she's like a Jedi Master now and all that.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's one of the things that was just missing from a characterization, even though I love Rosario Dawson. But what we got to see in this episode, and not just with Anakin and all that, but later on, she's actually, like, a very happy, warm person again, and I think those elements just really make her a lot more endearing as a protagonist.
Yeah, so we see that side of her that people were very fond of in the Clone Wars. It's like the snide remarks, the witty banter, her and Anakin.
She just has a lot of warmth.
The back and forth there. I honestly think it's a pretty valid criticism of Rosario Dawson being too stoic and being emotionless and not fun to watch.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's her fault. I don't know really what the cause is. Yeah. All I know is that as a viewer, it's just a little bit boring.
I agree.
I wish she'd move a bit quicker, talk a bit quicker, and have something to kind of grab onto.
Yeah.
Sabine, I'm really loving Sabine in the show. I'm just not as interested in Ahsoka.
Yeah.
As someone who's barely seen Rebels and barely seen Clone Wars.
Yeah. See, I kind of went in with the baggage of I did not like Sabine in Rebels. She was alright, but there were moments that irritated me. And then I feel like her introduction did not make me feel much better.
Gotcha.
Overall, though, I think the actress is doing a phenomenal job with Sabine, and I am enjoying her as a character in this. But yeah, I think in the case of Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka, I think we're starting to see a lot more sides and a lot more depth to her performance. One thing I feel that's really just letting her down in general is I do not like the contacts. I don't know how you feel about them at this point.
I'm not fazed by it, honestly. It's a space fantasy show. They've got to do contacts and the Lekus and stuff.
Yeah, I feel like they're too, I don't know how to put it, but there's like a few scenes where like she looks kind of around the camera and it's just like there. And I'm like, oh my God.
There's a lot of intensity there, yeah.
Exactly. And I'm like, damn, I feel like that's just... scares me. Yeah.
But yeah, so moving on from that, we get, I think, the crux of it is her fight with Darth Vader Anakin and his red Sith eyes, and she fights him, beats him, and then turns off his lightsaber, like grabs it out of his hand, turns it off, throws it away, and says, "I choose to live."
Yeah.
And I think it was a good moment. I don't know if it fully hit for me with the dialogue and what they're trying to get across.
Yeah,
it seemed almost like it was maybe too subtle, and I could have used a bit more of what are you trying to say with this dynamic?
Yeah, I think for me, it took me a while to sort of, and I don't know if I've even come to the right conclusion, but it took me a while to figure out sort of what lesson she was learning from this interaction was.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it was necessarily letting go of Anakin.
Yeah.
I think it had a lot more to do with her looking back at Anakin as a mentor and how that's going to affect her as a mentor for Sabine. The problem is Sabine's kind of out of the picture at this point.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. And I don't know, are they going to pick up with Sabine and training again? I think they will. It seems obvious, but we've only got like 3 more episodes.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to get Sabine back into the group, which will take an episode, and then you get maybe 2 episodes that are the climax.
Exactly.
But one thing that surprised me is that segment was really only the first half of the episode.
Yes. And we've got a lot more yet left to go. So just quickly, I'm going to touch on the scenes with Huyang and Hera. So Huyang obviously very sad, holding the helmet. Yeah. Gorgeous little touching moment where he's like, "I wish they'd stayed together. They never listen." It's very beautiful. It's like you're kind of seeing like the softer side of Huyang, who's usually a very just like crotchety old man kind of robot. I love Huyang.
Yeah.
And then they're flying together looking for him. Hera listens to Jason and starts looking for Ahsoka, who's drowning in the water, potentially.
Yes.
They don't know where the portal is to the world between worlds, so they're just kind of like flying around aimlessly.
Do you think she died?
Ahsoka?
Yeah. Do you think she died and that's how she ended there?
No, I saw somewhere on Reddit that, there's a portal to the world between worlds on Lothal, and the Lothal wolves take Ezra there.
Okay.
And there you see like the stone with like a circle of wolves around it.
Yeah.
And you also see a circle of Purrgil on Cetos. So
she falls into...
The idea is that she falls into the portal,
Okay.
I think, is what you're supposed to kind of assume there.
I think that's a little silly, but I'll allow it.
That's fair. I think that's the implication anyways.
Yeah.
But, she falls into the water. There's a portal there. She comes back out of the portal. She's in the water again.
Damn. See, I was under the impression she fucking died, and like she was sent into... Because I think it is the world between worlds, but I heard someone say it might be Mortis instead, and honestly, I don't know. I
think
but,
maybe that the line of like "I choose to live" or "I live or die" kind of thing is maybe her fighting for her life. In the world between worlds, and the Force kind of guiding her back to it. I don't know. It's weird.
Because I was like, damn, if she's alive, she's been underwater for a long time.
Yeah, so Filoni's got some pretty whack ideas about what the Force is and what it means and what you can do with it and how far you can push that boundary up until and past time travel as well.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I disagree with it or anything, but I do think they're pretty whack in the sense of like, whoa, that's pretty wild of you, Mr. Filoni.
Yeah. I do like his appreciation to actually explore a lot more of the grander magical concepts of it. Not magic in the sense of magic, but, the fantastical elements of the Force. What is the Force? What can you do with the Force as a storytelling concept and device? Sometimes I do agree that it goes too far and it's too outrageous.
I'm not the biggest fan of the Mortis arc at all in Clone Wars.
I've seen it, but...
wouldn't recommend.
Yeah. I hear so many good things about it, though. I'll have to make up my own mind there.
No, you can take my word for it.
But, I think generally, though, I like how Filoni interprets the Force most of the time.
Yeah. But anyway, so they find Ahsoka, they rescue her from the water. That first half of the episode is kind of finished. And now we have to deal with the consequences of Hera's actions, which lead the New Republic ships to Cetos. They are coming to kind of take her down, bring her before the Senate, and put her on trial, basically, because she's in trouble for running off as a general, which is kind of fair. I like that there's some consequences here. I like that it sets up some stakes for the end of the episode.
Yeah.
And Ahsoka's like, okay, they've destroyed the map. She uses some stuff that they have used in Jedi Survivor and Jedi Fallen Order. Is the Echo something, Force Echo's kind of psychometry kind of ability to gain a glimpse into what happened with the map and with Sabine and Baylan Skull. Got it.
Yes.
So and that was really cool. I like that use of the Force.
Yeah,
there. It's like, so Ahsoka can do this. Cool. It makes sense. Yeah. You don't see everyone do every Force power, but it's cool to see Ahsoka kind of
Force detective vision.
Yeah, exactly. So she uses that and realizes that Sabine is on the ship with them, and she was alive at least when she left.
Yeah.
So that kind of leads them to like, all right, cool. Well, we've got to get to this galaxy. And Hera's like, all right, you crazy bitch, let's do it. And they kind of like start going ride or die with each other. And Hera's like, okay, keep she says to Corson Teva, keep them away from Ahsoka. I don't care what you have to do, just do that. And the New Republic ships arrive as they all fly towards the Purgle pod that are flying through the clouds. And this shit is really good. I thought this was
you really like the Purgle.
Yeah, it's tricky because I really love the Clone Wars flashbacks, but I think this is the stronger half of the episode. I thought this is really fantastic.
I feel like I'm trying to think what I think. Like, a part of me at first was like, this kind of feels like 2 episodes crammed into one.
Yeah, it kind of does. It kind of does, actually.
Yeah, because it felt like there is like a cohesive there is a cohesive story going on in this episode, but it does feel like it was a Clone Wars Anakin Spirit World episode split with the
I think the split comes down to plot-wise, it makes sense, but themes, it changes drastically. Yeah. It is like the theme and
very
tone,
different focuses,
and the focus changes significantly. But the plot, it makes sense on paper.
Yeah. Like, it works as an episode. But I think I guess one thing for me is, I think the very few early episodes of the show, I think that's let down the show a little bit because we spent so much time in what really was the setup for the story, and now we're pretty much into almost the third act of this season.
The third act is getting to this galaxy, finding Thrawn, finding Ezra. Yeah.
When I feel like that should be the second act onwards.
Yeah.
Because my prediction is, honestly, they're probably going to end the season with a cliffhanger. With Thrawn coming to the galaxy. That's my prediction. I call it now. Yeah.
Nice. We'll do more predictions in a sec. We're just going to finish off the plot.
Yeah, that's all good.
So they fly to the Purgle pod. Corson Teva goes outside to the Republic ships, and they have a really funny interaction where he's trying to distract them, and he's like, "You're under arrest," or something like that. He's like, I need your codes. I need your codes. He's like trying to be intimidating and stuff. And then she's like, "I'm going to turn on the grav beacon. What's it called when they... the tractor beam.
Yes.
Got it. I'm going to turn on the tractor beam unless you tell me what's going on right now. And he's like, okay, fine. And then he's like, okay, but you're not going to believe me. And then he lays it all out for her. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah.
And all the while, Ahsoka is communing with this Purgle and flying inside its mouth, landing in there. And yeah, I think this all looks fantastic. I think it all reads fantastic. I really enjoyed everything that's happening. Her and Huyang fly and land on its tongue. Really fantastical stuff, but I think it really works. They really sold it, especially with, I think this was a great choice, is to have all of these X-Wing pilots going, whoa, what the hell is happening? It's like fantastical for them as well. So it lends credence to it happening on screen, because even the characters are like, this is pretty whack what's happening right now. This isn't normal. So she lands in there. Hera's like, cool, they're away, and then says goodbye as the Purgle are flying out. So the New Republic ships have to get out of the way of the Purgle pod.
Yeah.
And then the episode finishes on them all jumping to light speed, which I thought was just awesome.
I did really like that scene.
All the visuals here, the music, it's all fantastic. Really well done.
Yeah, the music is phenomenal.
Very strong finish. Excited for the next episode.
Yeah. I think that's one thing that has kind of surprised me about my reaction to the series so far.
Yeah.
I really did not like the Purgle and Rebels. I thought
interesting.
I thought they were implemented in such a weird way. And it was just like, oh, space whales save the day.
Yeah, I think I agree with you.
Yeah, and I was like, I was very disappointed when it ended with the Purgle basically saving the day.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because Ezra kind of uses them to take him and Thrawn to...
See, I thought that was a pretty inspired choice, because I actually haven't seen that.
Yeah.
I have only heard about it, and I've seen clips on TikTok and stuff. I know the basic gist of what happens in an episode. I thought it seemed like a cool choice when they spent a lot of time with Ezra setting up his connection to animals and stuff, and then to have him use that connection to kind of deal with Thrawn and sacrifice himself the same way that Kanan sacrificed himself for the greater good and stuff. I thought it was thematically worked on paper. Again, haven't seen it. Don't know how I feel about the actual experience.
Yeah, I think you pointing that out does bring a great perspective that I'll definitely consider. I'll consider it, yeah. No, it's definitely opening my mind to viewing it that way.
Yeah.
I think possibly another problem as well is just by that point of Rebels, I kind of checked out. I think.
Fair.
And I wasn't because I watched Rebels when it came out. I was very into it, and then just slowly fell off it. But yeah, I actually do really like the Purgle in Ahsoka. I was very skeptical because I heard things about them being involved.
They just look so cool.
They do look
the
cool.
design, the live action design is it's kind of that eldritch horror kind of style of creature design that I really vibe with. I think it's fantastic. They're a lot more friendly and cuddly looking in the show. In the live action, it's like, oh, these things are these could rip you to pieces.
Yeah, but that's a part of the reason why they look so magical and majestic.
They're magical, they're majestic, they're huge, they're mysterious, and they have this really esoteric kind of power that allows them to travel through galaxies and seemingly connects them to the Force as well.
Yes.
And I think that lends itself to the magic that Filoni is so interested in exploring with Star Wars and the Force and stuff, and how far can you push those boundaries?
Yeah, and Oh, I forgot what I was going to say. Purgle. Yeah, with the Purgle as well. Yeah, that's right. The sense of scale, like you really feel.
No, they do a really good job of making it feel like massive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed that, and the second the episode finished, we're like, God damn, the music is so good. Kevin Kleiner, it continues to just like banger after banger of score and composition for the show.
Oh my god, it's generally really good. And the thing is, like, yes, he's going with a very William-esque style, of course.
But it definitely feels unique. It feels like it's his interpretation.
Yeah, there are definitely moments where he like brings in new things that Williams never would have. Like I think at one point there was like a guitar and an earlier episode.
I'm loving the use of like wood blocks and flutes and that kind of stuff to really sell the Ahsoka being a samurai kind of vibe. They've done that a lot. They did a lot in Mando and they continue to do it in this.
Working phenomenally.
It very much works. Yeah. It's great.
Also to track a bit back into the episode, this is more a general comment on what they're doing with the New Republic, but I actually do kind of like the fact that the New Republic seem very Star Trek.
Yeah, right.
Like I actually really do like that. They remind me of the Federation, and that's a kind of like a great way to distinguish the eras, I feel.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Because especially like you see like those Mon Calamari ships and stuff in the original trilogy, and like the very Star Trek command like decks they have. But you don't get a lot of that. Generally, the Rebel
and they're
Alliance,
not in power. They're not. They're not enforcing their ideology on the galaxy.
Exactly. Yeah.
They're the underdog. So to see this idea that is very, I think, a really interesting point that it is kind of reminiscent of Star Trek.
Yeah.
I really like that as well because you get like the command deck and the one captain in the chair in the middle.
Yeah. Exactly, and it's a great way to distinguish the Rebel Alliance from the New Republic because I feel like a big problem for a long while, especially since they've mostly been using X-wings in the Mandoverse. It's always just kind of felt like the New Republic is just the Rebel Alliance, scrappy and stuff, and that's even a problem with the Resistance in a way.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah, but to actually see like fleets and stuff where they've got these command decks and there's very much like a military order and hierarchy.
Yeah,
it's a great distinguishing feature,
and to distinguish it from the Empire as well, because the Empire command decks are very iconic.
Yeah,
and even like if you would really break it down, you've got a whole area dedicated to people below the main deck where the important people stand.
Exactly,
you know?
Darth Vader broods staring at the hyperspace.
Yeah, and they're all below that. And then with this, it's there's still levels to it and everything, but you have the captain, and then you have this kind of equal plane of all the people working at the tech control panels and stuff like that. And it's a more inviting of a visual, I think, and it looks really good. And it sells that kind of idea.
Yeah. One thing I will say, and I don't know if this is a criticism yet, because I have to wait and see how it gets executed, but I do feel like the New Republic at this point, especially in the context of Hera, like, not obeying orders and stuff, they feel very weak. Like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah. And
it's something we've talked about a lot on our other show as well. It's just like how much the New Republic, is it believable? Does it sell? We're maybe going to see Coruscant next episode with Hera.
Ooh.
Is it going to be believable? Do they actually feel like they have power and it's working?
Exactly, because I feel like I like the fact that they did bring in the stakes at the end of the episode.
Yeah,
with Hera having to now deal with New Republic officials coming, but they feel very toothless. Like they're not actually going to do anything.
Is there going to be teeth next episode?
Exactly, I hope so, because I feel like we've gotten parts of that, especially with like the more shady senators and stuff. But at the moment, it's all talk and it hasn't been executed well. So that's why I'm waiting.
I'm very excited for next episode and to see, how that kind of shapes out and to see this new galaxy. I'm so keen to see what it looks like and to see what they do with it and how much they're willing to explore and what the next 3 episodes, what the final part of the show is going to look like.
Yeah. I don't really have many predictions.
I predicted for this episode that by the end of the episode we'd see Thrawn. I said completely wrong.
Yeah. Sorry, predictions is not what I meant.
Okay.
I don't have a clear idea of what we're going to see. I have predictions though.
I mean, we're going to see Thrawn. Like we know he's in the trailer. He's going to be in the show. I thought we'd see him here.
Yeah.
It might be next week. It might be the week after. It's hard to say at this point.
I'm going to predict next week.
Okay.
I feel like they have to, right? They're going to be in the new galaxy.
Yes.
We're probably going to see Sabine again. She's probably going to meet Thrawn.
Yes.
But this is more of a wild card prediction, but I reckon it's going to be like end of episode teaser. They're going to do that, aren't they?
I've been feeling like that's the kind of thing they're going to do. He's going to come in at the end of the episode. We could be way off, but that feels like something they would do.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see if maybe Ahsoka. It's more of Ahsoka has to interact with characters. So does she go straight to Sabine, or does she find a planet and there's new people there who don't even speak the same language, and she has to navigate that and try and use them to find Ahsoka? Oh, to find Sabine. Sorry. It might be something along those lines. It might be her wandering and exploring, trying to hunt them down.
Yeah.
Or she might just go 1-to-1, finds them, they fight, and then we see where the story takes us.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to try and feel like, okay, 3 episodes. How much do they move? Do they go to the galaxy? Do they come back? Do they go and stay there and that's the end of the show?
Yeah.
What's going to happen,
Oh, yeah, that's an excellent question. I really have no idea where Ahsoka's going to go.
Yeah, and it's her series,
Yeah, that's true. I mean, maybe she was right at the end of the episode. Maybe they will go to fuck off nowhere.
She goes completely the wrong way, and it just
that's
the next 2 episodes is just Sabine. It's nothing to do with Ahsoka.
No, it's just Ahsoka.
Boba Fett, eat your heart out.
Oh my god. Yeah. I mean, maybe she'll be the one who finds Ezra first.
Yeah.
I do think we're gonna have to see Ezra in the next couple episodes at least before the end.
Yeah.
And I'm so curious to see what type of a character Ezra will be now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
and where he will be and where we will find him.
Exactly. I mean, one thing that I realized recently was, Ezra doesn't have a lightsaber or anything, right?
Nah.
Yeah.
Maybe? I'm not sure. I haven't seen the show.
I'm pretty sure he lost it at the end.
Right.
Yeah, because I think Sabine at the start, she even has his lightsaber. And
he's just a nomadic Purgle rider. He's crazy. He's an old man. He's crazy.
Yeah, maybe he's like a Beastmaster or something. I don't know. I feel like one thing we're gonna see, which I'm kind of excited for, is Filoni loves to explore the Force.
Yeah.
We're in a totally new galaxy, has no conception of the Sith, the Jedi. I think we're gonna see a very different take on the Force.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm very excited to see it. Very excited for next week's episode where we will be right here reviewing it and giving you our reactions for it. But until then, this is Fixing the Sequel Trilogy. You can find us here every week, twice a week, doing this show and doing our other show where we talk about the sequel trilogy and fixing that in our own rewrite. But until next time, this has been Fixing the Sequel Trilogy, and may the Force be with you.
Bye.